YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. The playoffs are here. I'm excited. We got a ton of content to get to this week. Bunch of playoff content. Updated mock draft actually coming today, which is Monday. First, this video, a video I do every single year. I rank every playoff team from worst to first. It's not based on head-to-head matchup in the first round. It is based on how these teams fare against the field. What are their chances to make a run? How are they as a playoff team? So we're going to rank it. At the end of this video, we're going to do my final regular season power ranking. So we'll take a look at that, and we're going to compare where their final rank is to where I had them ranked in preseason before week one, heading into week one. So a lot of exciting stuff to get to. Follow our Twitter. A lot of important things going on there. You can see on your screen. There's a link down below for that. We have a playoff picks league. We'll see who wins that. You guys can play along with our picks, our video. There's a link down below for that. Also, if you go to our Twitter, here's our Twitter. We got a lot of updates on coaching situations. You join our picks league through here. You guys are voting for picks as well. So there's a whole thread of the picks. We're gonna have awards. You guys are gonna vote for all the awards, and those will be posted soon. And you'll have a say, and that'll go in videos there. So a lot going on here on our Twitter. Check it out. Link down below for anything that you need. Pin in the comments, also in the description. So number 14 is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shouldn't really be too much of a surprise. You know, what the Steelers have going for them is they clutched up at the end of the year. I mean, they're a clutch team. Like, some of these games they found out how to win. I really don't know how they pulled it off, honestly. You know, they're still at the bottom, though. It's tough to be a big-time playoff team when you struggle to stop the run. That's kind of the first point of defense. You have to be able to stop the run. And they struggle in that category. Other than that, their defense can be locked down. It can clutch up, win games. Offensively, again, Ben's been clutch. Najee Harris is getting better and better. They can run the ball, but yeah, it just doesn't really feel like. I felt like they were better last year, obviously. So it just doesn't really feel like obviously towards the top part of the playoff teams. Again, great job clutching up. They squeeze into the playoffs there. Gets pretty tough next. The next three teams are pretty tight. I'm going to go Eagles at 13. They have gotten a lot better. I love the way the defense is playing. You know, I talked about this team coming into the year. They could be sneaky because they have pass rush, they have offensive line. It's just on the quarterback, and it's the same story here. It's on the quarterback, on Jalen Hurts. He is a little inconsistent. He's tough to game plan for. He's tough to stop in the running game, though. The running game is really picking it up. I mean, they started the year off not running the ball, and they ended up the best run offense in football statistically. So it's tough. It's tough to stop some teams that are struggling to stop the run, which there's a few of them in the playoffs that they could be, you know, mainly they got to focus on the NFC teams, obviously, unless they make the Super Bowl, but they could be a problem. Again, I do like how the defense improved. I like how Sirianni as a coach improved. Second half adjustments are key. You know, but do they have enough offensively? Defensively, that, like I said, they've been fantastic, but can their defense carry them in a playoff atmosphere? Maybe they don't need to, but, you know, how will they be week after week after week playing? That's what factors into these rankings. You know, will they hold up on both sides of the ball in consecutive wins here? That's kind of the question. 12 going to be the Raiders. 12 and 11. I was back and forth on these two teams, real tight with the Eagles as well. Raiders they're heating up right now. I think Derek Carr's playing really good ball. You know, end of that Colts game, that clutch throw, maybe the throw of the season in the entire NFL, not just for Derek Carr. You know, so they got some momentum. Josh Jacobs is running real hard right now. Offensive line improving, a little shaky to start with a lot of new look guys. Renfro and Zay Jones are balling. They just got Darren Waller back, so they're starting to improve a little bit, actually. Defensively is kind of the question. They slowed down the Chargers early in that game, but, you know, they gave up quite a bit. So that's kind of the question. Inconsistency, kind of the question as well. Like I said, the offense is getting better, but they are a little inconsistent. Sometimes they disappear. So is there something to fall back? Is there something to rely on there for the Raiders? You know, and they've struggled with the top teams. I mean, that was a tough game against a good team, the Chargers, and they clutched up. They won. They tried to blow it. They won it, but you know, can they? Consistency is a big one when it comes to these rankings. Are they consistent enough to play the best teams and outplay them game after game after game without slipping up? That's the tough part where maybe you doubt the Raiders a little bit. But we doubted the Raiders in clutching up at the end of the season, and they did that. They proved everyone wrong, probably their own fans as well, because they were a disappointment for a little bit there on a stretch, and then they turned it around. 11 going with the Patriots. They kind of got cold at the wrong time here. It is Bill Belichick and his defense, and the defense has gone cold, but it would not shock me at all if that defense gets back to playing elite or close to elite football. It's a defense that can single-handedly, I think, win multiple games, but the problem is, or I should say maybe 2 games single-handedly. The problem is, are they going to have to rely on their defense all the way through? That kind of weighs them down a little bit if I feel they may have to do that. Offensively, they could be sneaky. They wear you out. They pound the football. They do a good job pounding the football. Mac Jones has been impressive. He's a smart quarterback. Not too scary of a team in the passing game. Team's going to stack the box. Is there a way to game plan for them? And again, like I said, the defense I can see going back to elite or close to and winning a playoff game, and maybe 2 just by their performance, but still, as of right now, they kind of left a bad taste in our mouths right now, so they're not playing as good, but I think it's mainly because the run defense struggled a little bit in that category. Pass defense is outstanding. It's kind of just got cold at the wrong time for me. It's a Bill Belichick team, though. They could be a little sneaky. 10, I'm going to go with the 49ers, so the 49ers maybe a little higher. Maybe a lot of people thinking they're at the bottom because they're a 6 seed. So maybe I have them a little higher. People are probably around the same range. I don't know. But, yeah, they kind of got hot later in the year somewhat, and then they go and clutch up against the Rams, a good football team in the Rams. I like the way their defense is playing. I feel like you can throw on the 49ers, but it hasn't really been proven here down the stretch. I mean, they got some young guys stepping up. They're finding ways to get pressure. They got disguises in the coverages. It's a well-coached defense, even without Salah, so impressive defense. Offensively, they're going to control the time possession. They're going to pound the football, wear you out. You got to worry about Deebo Samuel, what he's doing. So it is a sneaky team. I think these NFC West teams can be sneaky. They can be a letdown. They can be sneaky. I guess the problem is, what if they have to pass? What if they have to win with the passing game? What if they start from behind? They showed us against the Rams they can do it. There's something going on with them and the Rams maybe. Can they do it week after week after week? How's Garoppolo with the torn ligament in his thumb? That all factors in here. On paper, I do think there are better teams, but this team surprises you, and they kind of have the formula, but it kind of has to work. You have to have success on the ground. You have to control the clock. So can they stay consistent? Can Garoppolo stay consistent? Where's their passing game going to be at? Everything else I do kind of like there. They come in at number 10. Number 9 is actually the Rams, and it's a tough team to rank because I've been back and forth every single week. I'm like, I've been thinking maybe Rams Super Bowl, and this isn't, again, these rankings aren't head-to-head matchups. This is not the teams in the top. It doesn't mean I'm picking them to win the Super Bowl or picking them to win the first round. Teams at the bottom, it does not mean that. It's just how they stack up against the field, chances to make a long run. So people always get the wrong idea for that for some reason. But the Rams, it's tough. They could be real sneaky, and why they can be sneaky is because they have opportunity to be sneaky, and by that I mean they switched their offense this year, which Matt Stafford, a lot of just straight dropbacks, a lot of just airing the ball downfield, going away from the run too easy, things like that. And they could very easily just go back to an older McVay offense, more play action. I know Stafford's not a bootleg type of guy, more maybe outside runs, more just running the ball in general because they're supposed to get Darrell Henderson back, who's a fine back. Sony Michel's a very solid back. They're getting Cam Akers back, came back last week. What's this team better at, running or passing? That's kind of the scary thing about them. So they have it in place to be a dangerous playoff team. I just don't know if I trust McVay to make those correct choices. Stafford's been extremely inconsistent with the ball, way too much staring at Cooper Kupp. Again, sloppy with the ball. Are they going to run in the right situations? Are they going to get conservative at some random time? It's kind of hard to trust them defensively. They're very good in the red zone. They got the top corner in football. They got the best defensive player in football in Aaron Donald. But another inconsistent. Again, they're consistent in the red zone, but just so inconsistent. I don't know if I trust this team. There's so many reasons why I'm back and forth where they can be sneaky and they can be dangerous, like I explained. But they're gonna have to change some things up. I think with that running game, I think they have the keys there. Just throw everybody off. Just be a run first team. Get the ball outside a little more there. Control the clock. That's something they have not been doing well in the time of possession, which is a big thing here. They have an opportunity to flip this script Will they go out and execute? That's kind of the question. It's a tricky team to predict for the playoffs. Cardinals at 8. Those two teams will play each other. Because I have the Cardinals ahead of the Rams, it does not mean I'm picking the Cardinals. We will have our picks, or maybe I am. We'll have our picks this week with the other guys as well. It's tough because the Cardinals kind of went cold later in the year, but I would actually view the Cardinals, I'm more confident the Cardinals staying consistent than the Rams, believe it or not. The Rams, it's just so many different categories. It's very hard to trust. The Cardinals, they're tough to game plan still. Even though Kyler Murray's been struggling maybe a little bit down the stretch, they're still a tough game plan. Got to worry about him running. They can air it downfield. They got a little healthier recently. They're going to get J.J. Watt back. I think this team can win with offense and defense. I guess consistency is a little bit of an issue. I think they can win with either side of the ball. Get J.J. Watt back, be pretty big there. And they can run the ball. They can throw it. We've seen them win games using their backs. We've seen them win games throwing the ball downfield. We've seen them win games, having Kyler Murray kind of scramble, run, or with their defense. So another NFC West team that can be a little sneaky here. It's just they've been struggling a little bit down the stretch of the season. I guess some issues executing in crucial situations. Let's see if they put it together here. Cannot wait for that Cardinals-Rams matchup on Monday Night Football. That's the reason that's that new Monday night game there. 7, I'm going to go with the Bills. Another tough rank. The Bills, I like that. They can win on either side of the ball. They're very high in point differential, leading the NFL actually on the year, which kind of says more about a team than their record usually. My problem is, have they been tested enough? They haven't done particularly that great against the better teams. They beat up on a lot of weaker teams, so it's kind of a mystery with the Bills here. A little sloppy with the ball sometimes. Big question. I trust Josh Allen, though. He's a big-time playmaker there. Stephon Diggs, they got those guys. Last year, they did make it to the AFC Championship game. The offense was a little underwhelming at times because they just had no run game. They were very predictable. They started to run the ball a little more down the stretch this season, but what will be the mindset? Well, how will the play calling be? Where will they be at? Will they be predictable again? Defensively, very good pass defense. Will Tre'Davious White being out kind of get exposed when they're playing the best of the best now? That's kind of a question. Run defense, I do worry about a little bit. The great is they can win with either side of the ball. Both sides of the ball can be dominant at the same time. They're starting to run the ball more effectively, open things up. The bad is, have they been that, tested? Is there an opportunity for teams to, again, pass more than we realize based on what the stats show against them? Are they an easy game plan, kind of like we've seen for the good teams against the Bills this year? So a lot of questions here. That's what it is. It's the Bills are kind of a mystery at this point. It's kind of a wait and see. It's like everyone could have their prediction. Like there's a lot of people that think the Bills can go win the Super Bowl. They're ranking them at the top maybe, and I could see it. I'm not doubting them really. It was a wait and see. It's all just guesses with them at that point. There's teams that, everything's a guess, but there's teams that it's like there's reasons like, okay, this is why they'll be good. This is why not. The Bills, it's kind of both sides. This is how will they? I think it's on the coaching staff, really. I think it's on the play callers, how they game plan offensively. We'll see. I got them at 7. I got the Bengals at 6. It's just weird seeing the Bengals in the playoffs, ranking them in the top part of the playoff teams. It's a dangerous team. Their defense has been pretty stout this year. They stopped the run. That's so important. I know it's a passing league, but if you can't stop the run, you ain't winning the championship game. You ain't winning anything. That's just how it is, It's the easiest way to beat a team. If you can run on them, that's the easiest way to beat a team. Everyone knows that. Bengals can stop the run. They got playmakers in the back end. Pass rush has been improving. Offensively is where they're dangerous. They can win passing the ball downfield. They can run the ball on you. Just so many guys, so many big-time players that defenses have to account for, and that's a problem. We saw that down the stretch where they really started to pick it up, playing the Chiefs. How do you – there's a game plan out there for it, but you have to rely on every single man doing his job when there's that many guys spreading out the field. So the Bengals can be very dangerous. They have been a little inconsistent here and there. Even though I love their defense, it's way more impressive than I expected it to be. I think you can throw on them a little bit. It's just, and they're pretty young still. I don't know if inexperience really plays that. Sure, a little bit of a role, but that is kind of the problem with the Bengals. Earlier in the year, maybe mid-season, you kind of worry about the Bengals against the playoff teams, the good teams, but I think they kind of got out of that funk, later in the year. So I'm starting to believe in the Bengals a little more. It is hard to see them just beat all, because you have to beat the best of the best several times to win the Super Bowl. I guess maybe I can understand people doubting them a little bit in that category. Because it's the Bengals. Really not a lot of logic behind that though, but yeah, it's hard to see them doing that. But I think it's a really good team. It's just it's a tough team to deal with right now. Like, you know what they got, but how do you stop it all? 5, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. I know most people will probably say I'm too high on the Cowboys. A load of people are very low on the Cowboys, I think. Maybe not Cowboys fans. They maybe think that I should have them at 1. But I'm thinking I'm going to be higher on the Cowboys than maybe some, maybe not by that much. But people forget they have the number 1 offense in football. They do get a little quiet sometimes offensively, and everyone's like, what's going on? But they still have the number 1 offense. Will they be the number 1 offense at the end of the day? To be determined. Every year it really doesn't seem to stay, for offense and defense, stay the same. It's like a somewhat new offense and defense kind of makes themselves at the top. The Bucs defense last year, for an example, weren't the best defense going into the playoffs. It's just very clear they ended up the best defense in football. But the Cowboys, very dangerous. They can win with running the ball. They can win with throwing the ball, spreading out their weapons. Very good at quarterback. The three keys, and that applied to the Buccaneers last year: quarterback play, protecting the quarterback, pass rush. The Cowboys pretty damn good at all three. So that's why I really like the Cowboys. They're averaging a lot of yards per carry. They can actually run the ball more and throw teams off because they're more expecting more pass first. Defensively, they take the ball away. They get pass rush. It's a unique defense in terms of how they drop their pass rush packages there. But where they're not unique is they're just strictly man coverage. It's a very predictable man coverage. They have the ability to change it up and really throw teams off. Will they do that? It's hard to say they will. I think it's going to be a lot of man coverage, and that's where they can become predictable. But it's a dangerous team, and they kind of have the formula, so I like them in the top 5. 4, I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and starting to cool down a little bit on the Chiefs, but maybe they're hiding some things. Maybe they're not trying to show everything, but defensively, it's kind of going back down to, not quite early season. It was very bad then, but getting a little close back there. It looks like the Bengals kind of exposed some things for them against them. It looks like you can throw on them, which opens up the run again. They're not going to win with defense like they were in the middle of the year. They're going to blitz. They can make these flashy plays. I don't think they're going to win with defense. At times the offense gets a little quiet, but it's an explosive offense. It's dangerous. It very well could be the best in the playoffs, and that's why they're here in the top portion here. Very good coaching staff and some top-tier players, obviously, is what puts them up there. But you do wonder, the offense got to carry. If they kind of go quiet for a second, are they done? There's some certain matchups that it just doesn't look good for them in the playoffs. But, just really on that defense. And it's kind of getting cold at the wrong time here, but it's really on them. Number 3, I got Tennessee Titans, number 1 seed of the AFC. Love the way the Titans are playing defense. Second half against Texans is a little scary, but love the way they've been playing defense. I think down the stretch of the season, I don't think anyone's been playing better defense than the Titans, but playoffs change things. Will they stay that good on defense? They give some different looks on defense. They're very unpredictable defensively. It's hard for quarterbacks to line up and figure out what kind of coverage they're in, and that is key. They get that interior pressure. They get pressure in different ways. I love that. They kind of got guys that feed off each other. Offensively, they're getting Derrick Henry back. Crazy that they're the 1 seed without Derrick Henry. This is realistically, statistically, somebody else is better than them running the ball, but I'd say no. I'd say the Tennessee Titans are the best running team in football, and there's some teams that struggle to stop the run a little bit, so that kind of helps the Titans in their pursuit. Maybe they don't want to see a team like the Bengals because they stop the run, and they might be able to pass on them. Just kind of thought of that, but the Titans, getting A.J. Brown back recently, that's opened up things in the passing game for Ryan Tannehill. So it feels like a pretty complete team. Last year they were disappointing in that first round. Can Tannehill clutch up when he needs to? I guess that's a little bit of a question there. And can they remain staying healthy? I know some people forget they're getting guys back. They've recently got guys back. They're getting guys back, and they actually are becoming a better team today. But then what people don't talk about, can we fully trust them to stay healthy? Because these guys getting beat up, what's going to happen going forward? So that's actually a big question for me. They have been sloppy with the ball at times. I think it's due to missing guys, though. So I do like how balanced the Tennessee Titans are, and they're getting their stars back. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Bucs. it was tough to put him this high because, missing Chris Godwin, big piece of that passing game, big piece of that offense, and then now missing Antonio Brown, obviously, as well. Where's that passing game at? It does take a little bit of a hit, but Mike Evans is a fantastic player. Some guys will need to step up. Gronkowski in playoff mode, that changes. Tom Brady, even though he's already been MVP caliber, Gronkowski, these guys, something switch goes off, playoff time. But they're going to get Leonard Fournette back, who's been big time for that offense and actually big for that passing game. So don't forget about Leonard Fournette there. They got the formula, they got the quarterback, they got the offensive line, they got the pass rush, maybe the best blitzing defense in football. Defense doesn't feel as good as last year. The pass defense isn't playing as well, probably because it's been beat up. So they still got that run defense. That's a very important thing. They stopped the run first. Love that. It's just going to be, the defense was kind of picking it up late in the year, and then in the playoffs, I think they turned themselves into the best defense in football. It doesn't really feel like they're on the same path right now, but playoff time, flipping that switch, does that defense really step up? They need it to. They need some receivers to step up. They need that secondary to step up a little bit. I could see both happen. Like I said, Fournette really helps the passing game out a little bit. It's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady in playoff time. They got a very talented team. So I got the Buccaneers at 2. You got to have the Packers at 1. And this isn't Super Bowl predictions. It's just rankings for the playoff teams right now. But the Packers, MVP, it's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. These guys are at the top. These guys are in that playoff mode. They're just all-time greats. Legendary players right now. He has Aaron Rodgers. They got the best receiver in football in Devontae Adams. Other guys are stepping up. Lazard's been stepping up. They got the running game. I think they've been saving Aaron Jones a little bit. So watch out for that. A.J. Dillon's been running well. Offensive line, they're getting a little healthier. That's got to have a big question because the offensive line hasn't really been the same. I think it's been better in the past, but it's weird because we view the Packers as the best offensive line of football or at the top, and then all of a sudden the key games in the playoffs, the offensive line kind of lets them down. Last year, the exception or the legitimate excuse of Bakhtiari being out, now he's coming back. But where's that offensive line play? Since overall it does feel maybe a little worse, still very good. Do they clutch up this time in those big games? So that's kind of the question there, actually. Then defensively, at first, maybe a little bit of a question because there was a point in the season where they were top 5, maybe top 3 halfway through the season in defense. And it's like, wow, we know what the Packers are capable on offense. And now they got this defense. It's a sure thing Super Bowl. The defense really declined as the year went on, though. Second half of the year really declined. When the ball gets to people in space, athletic players in space, they struggle a little bit. But they're getting star corner Jair Alexander back. They're getting star pass rusher Zadarius Smith back. That's pretty massive. How are these guys? They're kind of in the same boat as the Titans. Titans getting these star players back, and that's great. People don't realize how big that is. Same with the Packers. But then something that people aren't asking themselves are, can we trust all these guys to stay healthy? It's tough. It's tough. So, but the defense was great, got worse, worried about a little bit. I think it gets better with some of these guys, but still, where is it at? Do those problems still apply that have been applied lately? Look at the special teams as well. So that's kind of the questions with them, but they can be they can be pretty balanced. It's more of an offense team, but they can win with both sides of the ball at times. It's just those defense questions will be the thing for them. But right now, they're the hottest team in football. They're getting some star players back. They got playmakers everywhere. They may have the best player in football at the most important position. I think they have the formula as well. They have quarterback, like playoff quarterback play, obviously, and better offensive line. And then they have pass rush. And they have pass rush without Zadarius Smith. They got him coming back, their best pass rush, so that's big. So I got the Packers at 1. Again, would like to be clear that, and we're going to show these regular season power rankings actually, be clear that these aren't Super Bowl predictions. These aren't first round wild card predictions. It's not about 2 teams. It's about all the teams, how they stack up against each other, how they feel in terms of playoff teams making a run. So let's show these final regular season power rankings. I've been doing power rankings every single week. Basically, if teams won, they went up. They lost and went down. They got hot. They shot up. It wasn't end of the year playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions, contending list. Wasn't any of that. If you've been following along, you understand. So what I did here, I got my final rankings based off of the regular season and what happened, how it finished in week 18 obviously played a part, and then that number next to the right side of the logos is where I rank them in preseason. So heading into week 1. So I thought this was pretty fun to see the difference. I ranked the Packers at 5. We knew they were legit contenders. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. Actually, at a point too. I would go to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs was my preseason prediction. But I started them in the regulars, and it was a big thing. Even the week 1 power rankings wasn't Super Bowl predictions. It was just kind of where I felt like they should start right away. Packers were at 5. So they actually bettered themselves ending at 1. The Titans were at 6, right next to the Packers. They bettered themselves by getting to 2, and that was without Derrick Henry for a while, so that's pretty damn impressive. Defense ended up being really impressive. And I realize I'm not on the screen right now. There I am. And we're covering up a little bit. I'll move myself when we get there. Buccaneers I had at 1. They were fresh off the Super Bowl. Felt like the best team going in. They ended up at 3. Same with the Chiefs, 2 to 4. They struggled a little bit at one point, but we're definitely in the ballpark there. Cowboys had 13. They end up at 5, so they definitely bettered themselves. I knew the Cowboys had the talent. I had them going to the NFC Championship last year, but I kind of doubted them. They let me down a little bit last year with the health. I kind of doubted them in that category a little bit, but yeah, 13 to 5. Bills I had at 4. They end up at 6, definitely in the ballpark. Rams in the ballpark. End up being a little more ended up being more inconsistent than I thought. The Bengals were at 29 in the preseason rankings. They're all the way up to 8, so a very impressive season for the Bengals. I'm a little mad at myself for that one, not just because I was wrong, but because I was kind of hyping the Bengals at one point, believe it or not, kind of end of last year, going into the offseason. I was like, if the Bengals do this offseason right, I think they can win the division. I'm going to like them a lot because I know how dangerous that offense is. I knew how that offense would be. The offense has surprised me, but they disappointed me actually in the offseason, except for guys like Mike Hilton, but they ended up having a way more impressive free agency than I thought. They did, and the defense was way more impressive than I expected. I did not expect them to stop the run like that, so that's where I was wrong. A little mad at myself because I was kind of feeling the Bengals, and I went real cold on them there, though. So huge season for them. Cardinals at 20, and they finish at 9, so they get a big boost, big difference. Not going to beat myself over that one though, because where I evaluated the Cardinals, where I predicted them to play, is really exactly what's going on in the second half of the year for the Cardinals. So in a way, I was kind of accurate there. They just started really, really hot. So they kind of got themselves in a good position there. 49ers is right there, 9, and they end up at 10 right there for the 49ers. Same with the Patriots. I was actually higher on where they finished. So I was kind of high on the Patriots there, 10, 11. Raiders got a boost. I had them at 21. They ended up at 12. So pretty impressive there. Difference is they clutch up at the end of the year. If they didn't clutch up, they lose to the Colts, lose to the Chargers. They're probably around 21 where I had them. I just, probably like everyone, didn't expect them to clutch up at the end of the year because we're kind of used to that. Eagles go from 26 to 13. I did talk about the Eagles potentially being sneaky in the offseason because they have pass rush. They have offense line just kind of on the quarterback clutching up. They get the job done. Defense actually ends up being better than I expected, so they shoot up to 13 from where I started them. Colts, pretty much in the same range. Colts felt like a playoff team to me. Wentz kind of let them down in that last game, and maybe they could use some more pass rush. They've missed on quite a bit of pass rushers, I guess, over the years, but I think they hit on these. I think Odengbo and Pay and Odengbo should work out, but it's tough. I felt like they're a pretty good team there. So the Colts in the ballpark of what I thought there. Steelers definitely in the ballpark. It's weird because they end up one better than where I ranked them, but I don't know if they're better than what I actually thought. My evaluation on them, they're a little fortunate to make the playoffs. We're being honest here. So, but they're in that ballpark. The Dolphins a little better. End of the season helped their rank, get them to 16. Defense was fantastic. The end of the year dominating the Patriots, so that helped them getting to 16 there. Saints, I had them at 12. They end up at 17. Was not planning on them getting that beat up. They played better than what I expected them to, where they were beat, as far as how beat up they were. Chargers had them at 14. They dropped down to 18. The more I think about it, watching that game last night and some of the games the Chargers let slip away, I don't think they're as good of a team as we thought. I don't think they're as good of a team as even people think right now. It really, and talk about the roster, talking about the coaching staff, it's starting to hit me that Justin Herbert really carried that team. Receivers led the league in drops. They didn't have a dominant running game. Eckler was fantastic, but pounding the football, dominant running game, they didn't have it. They could not stop the run. It's hard to be a good team when you cannot stop the run. League worst Just nothing special on defense. Coaching decisions blew some games. Herbert is special. He's a special player. I'd say if I started my franchise right now, I'd probably go with Justin Herbert. I'm just in awe with him. But it's just, I'm realizing, man, this team needs work. It's just they're just not there. Vikings, I was right there with my own team here, which I should be. But 18 is where I had them. They end up at 19. Ravens and Browns, pretty big difference. Ravens were very beat up. Everybody was beat up, though, but the Ravens probably at the top of that list dropped from 8 to 20 to finish the year. The Browns were just a disappointment there, obviously, go from 7 to 21. Hey, the Broncos, I had 22. That's where I ended up having them finish. And then for the record, I made these rankings and then actually decided after the fact, I'm going to go find my preseason rankings, put them in there. So the Broncos ended up the same. Seahawks, I'm a little like the Bengals. I'm a little mad at myself for where I ranked them at 11 because most of the offseason I was not quite down at 23, but not too far off. I wasn't high on the Seahawks. My evaluation on them, I didn't like their roster. They just had some star players here and there. But then just going last second, going into the season, I'm like, the roster isn't good, but they'll probably just find a way. Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Lockett, Bobby Wagner, all these guys, they'll probably just clutch up and find a way. It's what they do. But my original judgment was actually correct there with Seattle Seahawks. So they're down to 23. Washington, where I missed for sure. Wasn't in love with their offense, but I predicted their defense to be, I expected it to be elite and made it the best in football. It picked it up late year, but it just wasn't there, and that's a big-time disappointment for them. So they go from 15 to 24. The Falcons are right there where I had them. The Bears, same situation, kind of right there. Texans pretty much in the ballpark. They end up playing a little better ball at the end of the year, maybe a little better than expected. Jets right on at 28. They finish at 28 there. They started to pick it up late at end of the year to kind of get out of that very bottom situation. Lions at 32. They end up at 29. Hey, they weren't dead last. They were in the ballpark, though. The Panthers were a team I actually got ripped. I got hammered for having 25. It was too low, the people told me. I was too low on Sam Darnold. They ended up worse than even I thought. So there you go. Jaguars. Let me move myself here. Jaguars ended up a worse ranking, but yeah, very much in the ballpark where we thought they would be, just a one-spot difference. But I do think, in a way, I was wrong on the Jaguars because I thought they would have much more offense. I thought they would lose shootout games, which was not the case. So their offense was very underwhelming. Their defense, actually a little better than expected. So, I guess maybe wrong on the specifics of the evaluation there, but you're definitely right there where we predicted them to be. Very impressive in that Colts game, though. I wish they would clutch up a little better in the red zone, but very impressive there. They won their last game, ended on a high note, kicked their division rival out of the playoff, and ended up with the first pick. That's fantastic. Giants ended up at the bottom. Mainly, were they at the bottom when they were healthy? Absolutely not. Everyone was beat up, though. Where they ended up was just the worst team in football. How they ended, the Jags beating the Colts, had to move the Jags up for that. So Giants ended up at 27, or ended up at 32 when I had them at 27. They were beat up, but they're still underwhelming. Not coached too well. And Joe Judge will be back. They're coached well on defense. I like Patrick Graham a lot. Joe Judge will be back, though. But at least they got Gettleman out of there. They got to use their weapons better because they have them. Their defense put them in position to win games, and they could not win those games. They got to get better at quarterback. They got to get better at offensive line, and they got to execute, and they got to stay healthy as well. So they finished at the bottom. I guess that was a little unexpected, but yeah, those are, again, hopefully no one skimmed through this because they wouldn't understand. Those are the rankings, the way they finish, with the black number on the left, and then the color numbers on the right are where I predicted them to be. We're not predicted them to be, but where I started them heading into week one. So I thought that was pretty cool to look at, pretty interesting. We see the Bengals, the Eagles really boost themselves up, teams like that, and then some teams we talked to. Browns, Washington end up being more of the big-time disappointments there. Let me know your guys' thoughts on all that, though. Really enjoy doing these videos. We got all kinds of playoff content on the way. We got an updated mock draft. That's not playoff content. We got that. We got loads of content here. We got you covered. Better than anyone here. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow our Twitter. That's very important. Link down below. Pin in the comments for some key things there. Check it out. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.